Do you ever find yourself exhausted, irritable, frustrated, maybe stressed or overwhelmed, scattered, even depressed or blah, even though you're doing all the right things? Well, today I'm going to share the top 5 things that might be draining your energy that you might not really be aware of, and perhaps you could make a little change and feel better. I'm Kathy Bauman, and I am a source embodiment guide and personal coach. And I basically help people who are struggling in any way to live more connected to their true essence, their inner knowingness, and have clarity to go through life making changes or even transcending old struggles and living from a place of joy, ease, and presence. So I'm going to start today with number 1 on my list because I talk to a lot of people that do this, and it is worrying. So you can either worry about the past or the future, and obviously worrying takes you out of presence. It is a waste of energy. When you worry about the future or other people, I've heard it said it's like sending prayers out for what you don't want to happen because the energy that you put out is what manifests in your life. So clearly, worrying has a detrimental effect. So if you're worrying, stop it. Just stop it. And that might sound kind of trite or, overly simplified. I have people saying, oh, yeah, right. I can't just do that. Yeah, you can. Now, you don't have to stop it all today. It would be great if you do. But just know that your awareness of things is the most important element. So once you become aware of something, some kind of old habit, basically it is on its way out. So know that as you become aware of things, it's already leaving. And it's important not to judge your past self. The trouble with awakening and embodiment, enlightenment, whatever, is as your consciousness expands, people have a tendency to look back, oh my God, I can't believe I was acting that way. Or looking at others, oh, can you believe these muggles are still living this way? Stop judging. I'm going to little disclaimer here. Enlightenment is the absence of judgment. So don't judge anything. And all these things on this list really can be boiled down to judgment. But stop worrying. Know that when you become aware of worrying, it's already basically a habit that you will be done with when you're ready to. And then number 3 is if you can't not worry about something, let's say there's something where you're like, I have to do something about this. Hand it over to God, Jehovah, the universe, Christ, Jesus, Shiva, whatever it is you believe, hand it over and say, you take care of it, because newsflash, you're not the master of the universe. You're not in charge of everything or responsible for everything and everyone. Isn't that great? So, worrying, if you have a hard time worrying about other people or judging other people, take a look. And as I talk through this list, take a breath with me right now. I want you to feel these words, feel if they feel true, and ask your higher consciousness to show you, to reveal, to unveil, to highlight, to illuminate where in your life you might be able to make some tweaks, where these things are happening that it's really eroding at your joy, your enjoyment. We're here to enjoy life. So let's bring more enjoyment into your life. Now, if you're worrying about other people, oh, I wish she would get it together. Let's say you're very enlightened and you're looking at people around you, recognizing all of their old energy traits and habits. And you're saying, I wish they could see this. What you're doing is condescending. It's controlling. It is projecting a negativity onto others. So another way to get past that, other than just stop worrying, is recognize how unkind it is, the energy that you're sending, and that you're looking down on people. And that's all ego. So be honest with yourself where you're doing it and choose to uplift and love. Because if you are into enlightenment, mastery, really what you only need to master here is love. That's the real mastery on planet Earth. And how can you love people? So rather than worrying about others because you love them, look for the beauty in them and love them unconditionally. Accept where they are at and accept them. There's nothing more healing you can do for somebody than to love them unconditionally. And of course, if they come to you and say, hey, could you give me some advice or, maybe refer me to somebody for this or that, then you can also help them. But stop worrying about them and start loving them. Now, the other element of worry I have to address is the past. So, a common human program of the mind is to replay things. Let's say you go to work or to family, or you're out shopping, you're driving, and you're interacting with people all day long. The mind loves to come back and say,
did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Oh, I can't believe I said that, blah, blah, blah.
This worrying about the past. And I want to point this one out because this is such a common thing. So become aware of it, step one. And then when those thoughts come back to you, you just say, no, no, I don't need to control the narrative. You know what? I think I'm pretty decent of a human being. What if I just let myself live and don't try to nitpick, fine tune, and perfect everything about my identity and just really let my natural essence spring forth and know that that is more than enough. I am enough as I am. So when you catch these thoughts coming, again, sometimes people don't like to hear this, but I will say it again and again. Just stop. Just say, no, this is not serving me. No, this is not helpful. And that little tricky bugger will try to convince you. It will come up with every reason why, well, but in this case, or, you might have really upset somebody by the way you acted, blah. It's going to pull every trick in the book. Just be aware of it. It's good to know in advance that it's normal for all this mental, gymnastics where you can just take a breath, feel your presence, smile at it and say, no, thank you. So say no to worrying. All right. Number 2. This is maybe should have been number 1 because it's so huge and it's such a big topic. So I'm going to do my best not to elaborate too much, but I have maybe 200 videos on my channel where I go into detail on a lot of this stuff in other videos. Number 2, drum roll, shutting down. Of course, if you shut down your energy, you're going to be less energetic. You're going to feel heavy, tired, dense. Now, you are naturally a radiant being. You are pure light. And light radiates and emanates. It's constantly, it's boundless. There's no end to you. And the energy that your presence, the consciousness that you are, creates through a body is constant. There's a constant energy flow. So when you try to shut down your energy, it becomes very uncomfortable. You feel depressed, heavy, blah, dull, maybe hopeless. Despair comes from this, apathy, and every flavor of not so fun emotional energy lives here. So how do we do this? And then how do we get out of it? Well, it's where you avoid things. You maybe avoid conflict. You want to people please. You want to appease. Maybe you're afraid of what others think of you. Maybe you're afraid of the world. Maybe you're afraid of death. It all stems from fear. So there's a lot of different ways that this happens. It's a huge topic, but the antidote is the important thing. And the way out of this is to face your fears. To, number 1, know who you are. Okay, you're eternal. Even if you're not, well, this body isn't going to live forever. So what good does living in fear do? What good does shutting down do? And I call this a very, very deep decision point, like deep within your core. Am I going to let fear run my life? Am I going to give my power away to other people, to money, to status, to even the body itself? Or am I going to live my life to the fullest? That's a big question. And The reason it's important to ask this big question about this topic is because it is woven through every part of life, relationships, the body, the mind, everything. Sometimes it shows up as folks who have social anxiety. This is one that I will, I'm expert level with this. That's how in my 20s, 30s, I was on a lot of meds because of extreme social anxiety. So for years, I had to tell myself, okay, Kathy, just say it. Or I would say higher levels, higher consciousness, speak through me when I had a hard time speaking out. For those of you who have a hard time being honest, being true to yourself, just being genuine, this definitely is a topic for you to look at and to just make the commitment that you will move through fears and honor yourself. Let yourself express. And it could be about really anything in life, getting out of your comfort zone, starting something new, leaving bad situations. Oftentimes we numb, we avoid, we suppress because we're afraid to make changes in our lives. So, where have you been suppressing your light, shutting down? And then how to get through it? Well, number one, I'll go back to the thing I said before is ask. Ask for help from the rest of yourself. When there's a focus and you ask, then things start to change when you choose it. And then, it's kind of a mind over matter thing and a choice where it's like people say, I'm trying, I'm trying. Oh God, trying is quite a struggle, isn't it? So don't try, do. Don't say I'm trying to this. I am this. I am doing this. And choose it and choose it for you. This is about really allowing yourself to live life. So, wherever you've been shutting down, open up. Take one step at a time. And it can be, this isn't meant to allow the ego to sneak in the back door and say, see, you've been shutting down. Shame on you, shame on you. Be aware of those voices because none of that is you. That's all the old energy. Once again, trying to get you to judge yourself to become smaller. When you shut down your light around others, let's say you're shy or you don't want to rock the boat or you've been avoiding a conversation or maybe a change in life, it's where you put somebody above you. You allow them to dominate you energetically. And what you do is you become smaller and smaller and smaller. So now you're hiding, you're not speaking your truth, or you're not making the changes. You're living in fear of other people's energy. And when you let somebody else dominate your consciousness, it feels terrible because it's unnatural. So notice where you do this and then just take a breath. And it doesn't have to be combative. It doesn't have to be out of anger or raw, I'm going to raise my sword of light. You just say, oh no, you know what? I'm going to be true to myself. Duh. Right? Like, of course. And then you speak what's on your mind honestly, openly, calmly, compassionately, or you make the changes that you know you need to make. And if you've been living this way, suppressing everything and like this, you will feel it. And when you open up, sometimes it feels like those layers are so heavy, so sticky that you have to blast through it. At times when I was getting through all of this old energy, sometimes I had to go outside and scream or, just whatever it is to move some energy. It's not always pretty. My point is, let it be messy. Just stop suppressing your energy, whatever you have to do. And so it can be clunky at times as you free up some of those boulders that have been, in your energy field. It's like you've got all these weights and bricks and you got to clear them out. Once they get cleared out, now the conversations are easier, the changes are easier, everything flows easier. So don't be surprised or don't say, I can't do it. don't know how hard it is. Everyone thinks they're the worst. Everyone thinks their problems are the worst, that it's harder for them than others, or that sense that you can't change, but you can. You absolutely can. So it starts with knowing that you can face your fears and you can move forward. All right. So I will use the Nike slogan, just do it. And challenge yourself to do it again and again and again, and then celebrate every time you do it. Every time you transcend a fear, good job, good job, good job, good job, self, good job, and keep celebrating you. Celebrate every little win. It's so important. It will get that momentum going and it will clear out that old, icky, heavy energy that's had you feeling heavy and small and suppressed. All right, that brings us to number 3. It's kind of a hot topic right now in the world, and that is getting entangled with the world outside of you. Getting entangled with the world outside of you. That could be the news. That could be what's going on in your local community. That could be with your family. That could be with other people in general, relationships. But ultimately, you're responsible for one person. You are 100% responsible for one life 24/7, and that's you. And getting overly entangled with other people tends to happen when folks are not fully feeling connected and joyful, content within their own presence, and maybe avoiding some things in their own life. To go back to the last topic, avoidance being one of the ways we suppress our energy. So, if you are entangled energetically, which means emotionally, with other people or the outside world, it's where you are not living in your own energy field. We have our own energy fields, and that doesn't mean you can't express love and joy with other people. But when emotions become entangled, this is like the makings of codependent relationships and push-pull relationships rather than relationships of the heart. So when you look at the news and what's going on out there, you're not responsible. You're not the master of the universe. It is putting the weight of the world on your shoulders if you are getting upset about what's going on. Now, you can be aware of it. Maybe, it's not always so pretty. I'm not sitting here, oh, yay, this is happening or that's happening. There's wars. But to become emotionally invested means that you're giving some of your energy to it, but you're not doing anything. You're not taking any action. So I'd way rather have you just not get emotionally involved at all. Or if you want to get into it, if you want to do something, then do something. I don't know, make a donation or go join the, I don't know, Red Cross or something. But it is a complete waste of energy, time to sit home and to worry about what's going on out there. It does nothing for them and it drains you. So it is another detrimental thing that people very commonly do. The same goes for relationships with other people. Now, if you're, again, on this path to enlightenment, we realize that enlightenment is the absence of judgment, and that the cure to everything really in the world, you could say, is unconditional love, which doesn't have any judgment. It is always embracing and supportive, and no matter what's going on with somebody, there's a part of you that senses that eternal being in them and knows that whatever they're going through, they too are a facet of creator, a facet of source. And so this is all temporary. That doesn't mean if somebody falls down in front of you, you don't go and offer to help them up, but you're not judging anything. And with acceptance, when you accept others as they are and don't get entangled, which you could also say both of these things, whether it's the outside world and the news or other people, have to do with, control issues of the ego. So let yourself have no control over anything out there. And if anything, the most healing balm being that of love and acceptance with whatever's going on with people in your life. Can you just love them as they are? And, it's kind of funny because all these good intentions people have to, the people that they love, it's like, oh, I'm so worried about this person, or I just want to control their life. Or maybe you look around and you can see all your family because you're so enlightened, and you can say, oh, they're doing this wrong, they're doing that wrong. Oh my God, if only I could show them. That's so common, right? Because we can see things in other people, but we can't see things in ourselves half the time. But it's so condescending and belittling, and you're hating on them basically. So if you're doing this with anyone in your life where you're energetically entangled, where you want to control, you want to change, you want them to act differently, behave differently, you're worried about them, take a breath and surrender. Hand it over, just like the worry. And now take a breath and look back and see the beauty. Find the beauty in every situation, in every person. If you want people around you to evolve, to blossom, to bloom, to become more aware, to have more joy, love them. Love them and accept them exactly as they are. That is the best relationship. All right. Number 4. I love this topic. Being a victim, or you could also say struggling or suffering. There is such a big human mentality on this planet of struggle and suffer, and life has to be hard. It's almost at times glorified, I think, like, oh, I work so hard, I struggle so much. And somehow we've sort of glorified that as a society. So, I will say for number 4, drop the victim attitude and mentality completely. It's so common to think of the ego as having a big ego, like I'm all that in a bag of chips. But it's actually so accepted for people to be full blown in egoic consciousness as a victim. And yet that's okay, or being, what's the word, extra humble or shameful, or, shrinking and I'm not worthy and life is hard. That's very common. And so it's so normal. It feels weird when you actually break beyond that. You feel like, oh my God, I'm so arrogant. You know what? I'm joyful. I love life. Life is great. Life is good. I wake up every day saying, yes, I'm alive. Now, did I create that, or did that just happen? I chose it. I chose it again and again and again. So this is the one where I say, when you make the shift, I am God also, your whole life changes. That you could say WWJD, what would Jesus do? What would Jehovah do? Whatever. Become that quality. Live as the quality of divinity. And now, disclaimer, divinity isn't filled with judgment.
It doesn't mean you have to be perfect and you have to act this way and you can never swear or smoke a cigarette or whatever it is you like to do.
Divinity is unconditional love. It is the absence of judgment. So, when you are not living from a place of unconditional love and absence of judgment, it's really difficult because everything becomes negative. I mean, judging. If you judge life, this is bad, that's bad, this is bad. Now, I'm going to put another spin on this to stop being a victim, to become that quality. I am creator. I've created this life and it is good. So with every word you speak, you create. With every thought that you empower, you create. When you really embody and embrace that, why would you create anything less? Anything less than awesome. So everything I share, my events are all about presence, isness, going beyond judgment, going beyond conditioning, beyond polarity, beyond duality, beyond separation. I am that I am. Everything just is. However, I'm going to say, if you are somebody who is in this victim mentality, you tend to have these negative perceptions running around and around like tapes in your head, like, oh, why bother? How come I'm not further along? Life is hard, or, this just doesn't feel good. Any kind of negative thoughts. It's not to become like Pollyanna-ish and just be all positive, like, oh, yay, the neighbor just punched me in the face, but it's okay. It's not to like be stupid, but it's where if you have these negative things that are downers, you got Debbie Downer thoughts in your mind, stop and flip it. Just find a way to flip it positive. And I'm not trying to create more polarity here because I think most of you who watch my channel know that we go beyond good and bad, beyond right and wrong, beyond masculine and feminine. I'm not a divine feminine. I have a divine feminine body, of course. My body is female, but my essence is source. So the reason I say to go to the positive on this, though, is so many people have so many negative habits. Watch for them, challenge them, break them down, stop doing it. And sometimes the best way to start that is to flip everything to a more positive look. And I know there's a lot of negativity around that, like, what is it called? Toxic positivity. You know what? Some people might think I'm toxic positivity myself because I look for beauty everywhere. You know why? Because it feels good. It's energizing. It makes you want to get up every day. It makes you want to go out and look at the clouds and look at the flowers and look at the grass. When I see the beauty in all the people that I meet and I get to talk to every day, whether it's the way they smile or the beautiful glint in their eyes or whatever it is, maybe it's their super weird, like, vibe and the way they dress. You find something interesting and beautiful in people, places, and things. It makes you want to go and get out into the world. It creates a lot of energy. So, negativity is heavier, the energy, the frequencies are lower, and positivity is higher. So, we're not trying to create more of a rift here in duality, but if you're stuck in negativity, if you're a victim, if you're a Debbie Downer, wah wah, then I would suggest you stop. And if you're stuck in the past, if you are, I don't know, reassessing, analyzing your life, stuff like that, you can just stop. This is where you transcend the need to work on yourself. You take a breath and you shift your focus to what can I do now? All right, drum roll, number 5. This is a biggie, 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 biggie. Self-doubt. Ugh, just the word alone makes my stomach want to curl up. Self-doubt is one of the most pervasive, icky, infectious things that there is because one of the most empowering, energizing things you can do is to trust yourself, to trust in creation, to know yourself. And
There's a lot of spiritual blah 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 around the word abundance.
abundance. Oh, I am abundant. Well, the most abundant thing that you can have or where you can be the most abundant is within you. You are the gift. Your essence, your light, your expression, your creativity. You are the abundance. So self-doubt is what eats away at abundance, at life, at joy, at your energy. So where does this actually show up? It shows up in not taking action. If you're doubting yourself, confusion, one of the biggest zaps and drains on energy is indecisiveness. Again, overthinking, overanalyzing, even over planning rather than taking action. So when you are in self doubt, you're not clear on what to do. And the funny thing is, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take action. So it's like in life, if you go off in this direction, but maybe this direction was actually going to be a better direction, you'll just be rerouted over here. Energy is always going to serve you to take you where you need to go. But that goes full circle back to trusting yourself and trusting all of creation, that creation has your back. So some of the other ways that self-doubt shows up is worthiness, like feeling unworthy, lovability, feeling unlovable, value, where you don't recognize the value that you bring to others in your expression, in what you do, what you say, how you do it, especially if you're back in the, other one where you're not allowing yourself to express. So these are also intra-related. The other way that self-doubt shows up, it's like insecurity, right? And when you're insecure, then you become defensive and protective. And you also seek that kind of validation from others. And now, once again, you're giving your power away and you're becoming smaller and you're making others bigger than you. So, whatever it takes to get beyond the self doubt, this is an important one. And again, going back to kind of like these Jedi mind tricks, I talk to a lot of people that are like, I'm trying, or, they can't seem to get out of it. What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's where you feel in your heart. So feel with me for a moment, because we all struggle with self doubt. It comes up for everyone. Feel within you the connection to you as a facet of source. And it's in this connection, there is some level of knowingness. Somewhere within you, you know it, you can feel it, you can sense it. Even if it feels a million miles away, there is a part of you that knows that this self-doubt is not true. What is really true, a higher level of truth, would be anything that is empowering, loving, encouraging, supportive. That is the voice of your essence, whereas the voice of self-doubt comes from the ego, comes from the old aspects, the ones made of fear, of conditioning. And that's what we're shifting out of so that you can feel more like yourself. Okay, so that was 5 things that erode at your energy. And I want to just wrap this up with a bonus, because all 5 things can be boiled down to the most important thing, and that is recognizing that everything we talked about comes down to fear and judgment. And when you live in fear and judgment, you're not living as yourself. You're giving your power to old energy. You're giving your power away to other people, to systems, to society, to whatever. You're giving it all away rather than living your life. And there's nothing more energizing than living your life to the fullest. Go big or go home. But how do you do that? Well, what is the antithesis of fear? What is the opposite? What is if the doctor were going to give you a prescription, what would it be? All right, you got all this fear? There, let's give you this instead. Number 1, clarity. Just the clarity that the fear doesn't serve you. It doesn't energize you. Fear can be motivating. I'll give it that. But ultimately, you are more energetic without it. You can go beyond it and you have endless energy because you are a live streaming source being. It's where the energy of creation flows through you freely without all those emotional blocks that were created by fear. And if you want to be more energetic, if you want to shift out of this, if you want to get out of the fear, yes, you start walking through the fear step by step. But the pill, again, would be love, unconditional love. There's nothing more potent than love and kindness. So when you are loving to yourself and kind to yourself, that's going to be energizing. When you celebrate every win, when you see the beauty in yourself and others. Everything that I've said about other people, it applies to you also in terms of seeing the beauty, acceptance, accepting things as they are. Can you fully and completely accept yourself? Fear contracts, love expands. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure out that if fear contracts, its energy is smaller. Love expands, it radiates, it shines, it sings, it dances. It's not afraid of anything. So that has 10 times, a million times more energy than fear. even though we know because we've experienced lots of fear in these bodies, sometimes the fear can feel so big, like it's bigger than you. Remember and feel you are boundless. You're huge. You're so much bigger than any fear. And if you don't feel that you can do it alone, then hand it over. Ask for help. So I hope that this list helped you to remember the love that you are. You deserve to feel awesome. You 100% are worth it. You matter. We all deserve to feel joy in this life and energized and clear. And the good news is you absolutely can. You can transcend all the heavy energy stuff that I talked about today and feel this inner connection, this radiance, and this joy. So if you enjoyed this video, consider liking or subscribing, or you might want to check out my new free course called The Freedom to Be You. And I'll put a link down here. It's all about going beyond all these limiting beliefs and clearing your energy and staying clean and clear and living everyday life as creator. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope this video has energized you. Namaste.